What's going on, guys? Bexio back, and today we got a brand new video on plug power. This just a lot of volatility, a lot of downside moves right now, and overall market. A little bit of news that came out that spooked the market yet again. Before we jump into all of that, if you are not subscribed, make sure to smash that sub button because we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. But let's jump right into all this different types of stuff, all these things going on with plug. We can look at plug's price chart right here, and you can see it's reached a little bit of a top right here, 46.50, and has started a little downtrend right here. And we basically came back into this channel and are really hovering right on this previous line, which is like $39.48. So literally right on that line right now, and even interacting with this channel yet again after re-entering it. So we'll see like how it reacts to everything. But from an overall market, I mean, you can see this left side again, lots of red going on. I mean, the cryptos are up, the crypto stocks are a little bit up, MicroStrategies, these things. But apart from that, I mean, Apple is up. We look at Apple, like basically people are doing a flight to safety again because of what the Fed said, and we'll go over everything that they said. But you see Apple challenge going, seems like it's rallying to all-time highs. There's a lot of fear, and that affects plug. We know plug is a very volatile stock, and it was down 7% today. Now it's down about 5%. And it's rallying, trying to fight to get back over that 40. I think $40 would be a strong way for it to get back above that, and kind of support above that would be pretty important. And seeing if it resumes interacting with this channel moving up will be interesting to see if it'll actually do that. But it is just something overall with the market. But looking at plug individually, fundamentally it's still doing fine. We have yet another partnership coming with plug. It is the do I even want to try and pronounce this? Esonia?
Asiona.
I don't know. But basically that kind of partnership to address green hydrogen market in Spain and Portugal. So still going worldwide and global with their infrastructure. This whole phase is them building out their infrastructure, and we should see it start going to work next year, 2022. Is when it's supposed to start actually producing hydrogen, and we'll see how that actually interacts with the market. Does it want hydrogen, and how all of that goes along? But this kind of just talks about the whole venture, talking about plug, what their ideology is, and how their company wants to do, what this company wants to do as well. And then you can see your quickly recognized shared a mission approach and working with the team, and it just makes sense for them to try and come together with a partnership and make it work together because they have the same goals in mind. And then just this part talking about what really this company is. I'm not even going to try and say it anymore, but it's the largest 100% renewable energy company with no fossil fuel, with no fossil legacy in the world. Has more than 11 gigawatts of renewable energy in 16 countries, 30 years of experience, a complete portfolio, tailor-made energy solutions for its corporate institutional clients. So it has a lot of things that plug wants to do as well. 30 years of experience. They have been doing this for a long time. They have no fossil legacy. They 11 gigawatts of renewable energy, and they are in 16 countries. So it's a good partner to have for plug to be able to continue expanding globally, continue building out this infrastructure that they need to build out, and moving forward into the future of being able to provide hydrogen and this green energy and actually use it to make money. It's a company, the profits are going to be important for it to become profitable and get that $1 billion in revenue by 2024. They're going to have to start hitting the ground running, and this is going to help them a lot. And just a big thing we're seeing with plug itself right now is also lower volume. So this is much lower than average volume. It's doing about, that 10 million or 15 million shares exchange, and its average is 20 million or over 20 million. So it's just lower than average volume. So when you don't have the volume there, the price drawing down is a normal thing to happen. But then looking at the big reason why the whole market is in fear, selling off, and how it affects plug directly in all of these companies is Powell said the Fed will discuss speeding up bond buying taper at December meeting. So that means they're going to speed up the taper, which means less liquidity into the market, scares a lot of people, investors, scares the entire market. But one of the key points Powell said, it's probably a good time to retire the word transitory, which is so funny because what are we, a year and a half in from the Fed saying transitory, inflation, transitory, all this different stuff. And turns out it's not transitory. Turns out all the people on Twitter and the random non-economists on Twitter were right and saying inflation was going to hit hard and it's not going to be transitory. Seems like they know more than the Federal Reserve, which is crazy. You can see him talking, saying, Tuesday he said the central bank could step up removal of its efforts to boost the economy as it battles with escalating inflation pressures. And they've said time and time again that they weren't going to have to do this. It was transitory, and now we're seeing them, have to do something because they're losing control. He said, at this point, the economy is very strong and inflationary pressures are higher, and it is therefore appropriate, in my view, to consider wrapping up the taper of our asset purchases, which we announced at the November meeting, perhaps a few months sooner. I expect that we will discuss that at our upcoming meeting. So obviously, this is all that types of talk, the tapering, bringing less liquidity in the market. The Fed is just going to be printing money into the market and bonds, doing all that kind of stuff, propping it up, which is a worry for a lot of people that they would stop doing that. But the counterpart of that is if they stop doing that and the market starts to really fall, they're going to be forced into doing it again because they're going to have to bail out a recession again. And they're just going to get stuck in this loop. It appears that it really could happen. Their previous policy was buying $120 billion a month. And that was $80 billion in treasuries, $40 billion in MBS, mortgage-backed securities. And then another quote talking, the need for that has clearly diminished as the economy has continued to strengthen. As we've seen continued significant inflationary pressures, and that's why we announced that we would taper. And that's why we're now saying going to discuss a somewhat faster taper at our next meeting. So if this doesn't tell you everything that you need to kind of know about the Fed and economists and all these people who are saying, they were saying, don't worry in the beginning. Then they were saying, don't worry, it's transitory. Then they were saying, no, inflation's good for you. And when people weren't buying that anymore and saying, I can't afford the things that I could afford before, now they're saying that, we got to take care of this. We got to actually start doing something against inflation. But the problem will be if the market starts to fall too much as a reaction to this, or with less liquidity that the market's used to, will they have to start turning the money printer back on? And then it's just kind of funny seeing him talk about the word transitory as different meanings for different people. It's almost like that's the exact reason they use that word, so that they couldn't put themselves on a time constraint. They could say it's transitory, but what is transitory? A few days, a few weeks, a few months, a few years? Transitory is open to interpretation. That's why they picked that word, because it's not a timeline. It's not like by this month, inflation should go back to normal or go back down, or we should have deflation to offset the inflation. It just doesn't exist there. So you just gotta you have to look into the wording that people use, because they're going to use it that's going to benefit them the most. But then a day before he announced or went on to say this right here, to speeding up the taper, he said he went to the Senate to say the variant poses downside risk to the economy, complicates inflation picture. So it's just he's contradicting himself, where on this article and where he went to the Senate before a day earlier and said, we got to turn the money printer on. We got to keep it printing. And then the next day says, well, inflation's getting crazy. We should probably start the taper sooner. So it's a little contradicting himself. It doesn't really make much sense. But we can see from the tapering news, the market didn't really like it, selling off a lot. We're seeing a big recovery, though. So in Plug Power itself, obviously we're down 7%. Now we're only down 4.8%. We're starting to really get above this previous support line here, and see if we get into this channel and keep moving upwards. But it does seem like there's a flight to safety right now, and we'll see how the taper goes, how all of it interact with each other, and what actually happens, because that's what's going to matter the most, is how the tapering goes by, how the market reacts to that, and if interest rates get increased, like really shortly after the taper ends. That's going to be pretty important. And Jerome Powell has said that they do not plan to, or this speeding up the taper does not mean that inflation or interest rates are going to be raised anytime soon. So that's going to be a big one to look out for too, is interest rates being raised. That's going to lock up a lot of cheap debt that companies are using to grow right now. That's going to be not available for them. So uh, easy money is just going to start to kind of go away. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Plug crashing, but not really. The fundamentals still good. That's why you invest off fundamentals things. The partnership's still going good, and the site is out to 2024 to see when they, or if they can actually achieve profitability, and the overall market not liking a lot of news that's coming out. We know Plug Power is a volatile stock on any news. So as always, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Is my next video.